Learning Academy CC. So here I will be taking you through different buckets or different training programs, what we provide you, and what are those sessions all about, okay? And what all things, if you gonna get into those sessions, particularly those sessions, what all things you're gonna learn, is it? Because you guys have joined the session, and I believe that you are passionate to learn something new and develop your career, okay? So here I would just go straight forward without wasting much of your time. How to become a data expert. Okay, so this is the portal. I will just take you one by one through the portal so that you guys can also discover on your side. Thailand will be providing you the link so that you can explore different training programs what we offer. And after this introduction or giving you an overview of the training sessions, I will also let you know, like, it's not just the training program what we offer. There are many other things what we provide on top of the training programs, which make you right, or maybe you can say a perfect fit for being a data professional. Okay, you will not be learning few things, but you will become an expert, industry level expert, I would say, to work on different domains and in that respective technology. Okay, so how we train based on different technologies and different positions. Okay, or after getting these training solutions, what all uh, job roles or what all job titles you will be able to crack, or maybe get jobs into. Okay, where you will be landing particularly after going through these sessions. Okay, so if you see here, we have these four buckets. Okay, database design, development, and implementation specialist. Then we have data visualization specialist as a BI analyst. And we also have, because we have cloud emerging technologies nowadays emerging in market. So we also have a session on data mastery and cloud computing. And then we have a boot camp for your data analytics certification, where we have a combination of almost all these modules together. Okay. And if you would check on your end, you will see that these sources or these particular courses, what have been mentioned here, are of different duration. Okay. So today I will be just talking about the very first module or very first session, what we offer as a database design, development, and implementation. Okay. It is important because you might have multiple questions that, okay, what are the offerings? If we choose this option, what all things we're gonna learn with it, and how that makes you well sufficient to get any job interviews, or maybe get some opportunities, make your career options in the data field. All right. So let's hop into this first session. So if you see, in this database design, development, and implementation, we unlock the secrets of effective database management with a very detailed course on database design, development, and implementation. So see, if you want to be a data expert, okay, you have to deal with databases, correct? Now, suppose an organization hires you as a data expert, okay, and they want you to create a database for them. All right. So if you don't know the very basics or fundamentals, that how to create a database for any organization, okay, or if the organization already has a database, how would you query data out of it, or how would you extract information what the business needs from time to time? So these are like very fundamentals. Okay. And the best thing what you can think is that during this course, okay, or during this whatever the duration, if you see, it's 160 hours. So it's not like, okay, you need to be a data expert or you need to be from a technical background. Okay, these courses are designed to be self-sufficient, to treat every person as someone who is unaware of these fields and technologies at all. Okay. So even if you don't know, like even 1% of it, these courses are designed as such that they will make you from no one to an expert in data domain by these during these, you can say, the 160 hours of duration. So the programs are designed as such, where we start from very fundamental, very basics, okay? Like building a database from scratch, okay? What are different components of databases and many more things. I will just go through that in the session, okay? So if you see, this is just a summary where you can understand that what all things will be involved during this 160 hours, okay? So if you see, we dive into the world of structured data, mastering the art of designing robust databases. Not only that, we also help you to develop data models, and that very efficient data models, which are industry level or industry grade data models, okay, which are widely used across different industries. And also try to implement a real time powerful solution using those data models and creating a databases from scratch. Okay, we have a team of experts. All of them are Microsoft certified trainers with like more than 8 years, 10 years, 15 years of experiences, which will provide you all set of expertise over years and different projects and different challenges what they have faced. Okay, so it's not a trainer driven course, but it is more like industry experts training you with real time challenges, opportunities, and what all problems you can face in real times. Okay, so during this 160 hours you will understand the basics, then you will also understand real time challenges, and you will learn that how to create a database from scratch. And once the database is created, how will you get information out of it? Okay, so we will help you learn SQL language, and there's a tool which is available in market, how to use that tool, everything from scratch. Okay, so there shouldn't be any question that, okay, I'm not from a technical background, whether I'm eligible for this course or not. Okay. So anyone who can have a passion of understanding and learning, okay, trying to build their career in this domain can opt for this course. And the other thing will be taken care by the industry experts or the instructors, which will be helping you during these courses. Okay. Let's see what all things we offer in this 160 hours. To just give you a brief idea, because there are a lot of things what we offer, but I will just give you an overview on different areas, and we'll also show you some demonstrations like how we cover these aspects uh, in this particular duration. So if you see here, the sorry. So if you see here, we have the curriculum. So in this course, we have two major topics. One is data modeling and the other one is SQL Server. Okay. So first, let's go with data modeling. What is data modeling? Now, whenever we have to create a database, okay, so we create a prototype or we create a model for the database. Why? Because it makes it very easier to implement the actual structures. Okay. So data model is nothing but it's a logical structure for your databases with the help of which you create the actual database structure with that particular logical structure, which is called your data model. Okay. So we have different stages in data modeling. Okay. So this model you can understand as if like this is a something which will help you to create an actual database from scratch. But in order to do that, you should be able to create a data model first, correct? If you are able to create a data model, with that reference, you can also create a database from scratch. So if you see, the very first thing talks about software development lifecycle. Now, this is also termed in technical terminologies, or in real time, we term it as SDLC. Okay. So this SDLC is nothing but it's a process where you will be following certain steps or certain process in order to develop a software. Okay. So in that development, there will be multiple stages. You will be designing the software. Okay. You will be making that software, developing it from scratch. Once you have developed, you will make sure that it works very well. So you will be doing multiple testing. And once the testing is verified and there is no issue in the product, you will finally deploy that solution. Okay. But in order to initiate or in order to create any software, you need to get some requirements, correct? You need to get some inputs. So these inputs are given by standards, like your standard clients, or maybe different providers, okay, which you'll be working for. Suppose if Amazon asks you to develop a data model for them, okay, so Amazon will give you certain requirements that, okay, uh, I need my data model to have these kind of specification and these kind of information involved, okay. So based on that specification and information, you will be gathering different requirements. Okay, that is the second topic where we let you know that how this process takes into picture, how you interact with the client, how you take the requirements, okay, what documentations you prepare, those documents contain what all information is it, and based on that, how you build the model, data model. Okay. So the next topic, if you see, it's the documentation, where we have different types of document involved in the data modeling phase. You go with business documentation, you go with functional documentation, where you have different technical set of functionalities documented, and some you have the business perspective functionalities documented. So all these processes are there in the data model. And because I told you that if you are not aware about the data domain at all, we take it from very grounded level. So we start from very basics, let you know how this process looks like, help you to interact with actual industry level experts which are working in different domains and different projects, to help you understand how that uh, how a data expert day-to-day scenario looks like in a project. Then not only that, if you see the next pointer talks about software design methodologies. Okay, so when you are designing these softwares, or suppose these models, there are different approach to design. Okay, there's a different process. So there are like multiple processes. If you see here, some of the very common processes are mentioned here: waterfall, agile, scrum, spiral. All these methodologies are used to plan your set of events and how you will be building software in, uh, you can say, while creating this data model. So you can create data model using waterfall as well, using agile as well. Any one of these methodologies you can choose, and you can start building the data model. Now, how would you choose these models? That is completely dependent based on what requirements you are getting from the stakeholders, what requirements you are getting from Amazon. Based on that, you will decide that, okay, which methodology we have to take. And during the course, we guide you how would you make that informed decision or that intelligent decision that, okay, in this scenario or in this set of requirements, we can choose this methodology, because we have multiple methods, correct? Which is the appropriate or correct method to build your data model that needs certain set of expertise, correct? Which again will be provided by the instructors from time to time, and will be shown you that, okay, how these methods fulfill your requirement from time to time. Okay, so you will also be learning this phase during this course of your database design and implementation. Okay, so till here, if you see, we are just talking about what? the designing part, the documentation part, how would you interact with clients, what kind of requirements you get, what documents you prepare, then what methods you use in order to create your model. Not only that, now because you have got all these insights, you will not start creating database right away. Okay. We need, before creating a physical model, we need a logical model so that we can prepare our mindset that, okay, these are the information what we need. And using that logical model, we can reference that model and then start creating a physical model. Okay. So ER diagram, if you see here, ER diagram is nothing but it's your logical model. For your data model, we create a logical data model, which is called ER diagram. I will be showing you how the ER diagram looks like, what are different components of ER model to make you understand what I'll be talking about.
Rishabh?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but we have one person here asking a question on the
Okay.
design part. He's asking, our friend is asking if in the design methodologies, can design thinking be included?
Which taking?
Design thinking
Can you scroll
is
down? Yes. Like what design you need to implement. Okay. That will also be included because see, these designs are predefined. Okay. These methodologies are predefined. So we will also allow you to understand and give you appropriate information that how you can design and what methods you will be using to design that. So there is appropriate approach that, okay, in this scenario, we will be using waterfall, but not agile. Or in particular scenario, we'll be using agile, but not waterfall. So a very detailed overview of the sessions and how to design these methods will be constructed. And not only that, we will be explaining you those things and we will ask you to create real-time models during the course itself. Okay. So we have modules by modules, and we have a lot of projects, quizzes to make sure that you are good enough to develop those things what you are learning. So it's parallelly going on. Okay, it's not like okay you will be just learning, not doing anything. It will be okay you're learning a part of thing, then you're implementing, and then you're doing some real-time projects. Again, you are learning the other part of the training, then you're implementing some examples, and again you're doing a project with some assignments and quizzes as well. So it's like that. All right. Okay. So moving
thank you,
to
Rishabh.
ER diagrams, as I told you that this is a logical diagram where we will be using this diagram to create the actual model. Okay. So if I say ER diagram, you might have a picture of a diagram, is it? If you have gone through college, or if you have gone through even like high school, we have created like a lot of flow charts, and different types of diagram. Same, I would say, quite similar diagrams are created for database modeling as well. Okay, I will just show you a diagram I have. Maybe that can give you a clear idea. Okay. Okay. Can you guys see the ER model diagram here?
Yes, we can see.
Yes. All right. So if you see, this is the ER diagram. Now you can ask me what that ER stands for. Okay. So ER stands for entity relationship diagram. Okay. This ER model diagram is nothing but entity, E for entity, R for relationship. Okay. Entity are, you can say entities are like tables. Okay. Or maybe any object, real world objects. It might be living or non-living objects. Okay. It could be like person, it could be a company, it could be a car, okay? It could be student, it could be course, okay? So entity is nothing but you can say a, a real-time object, okay, which might be living or non-living, and it has some characteristics or feature. Like suppose if I say student, so student will have certain characteristics. Okay, he will have an ID, he will have a name, he will have an address, he will have an email, he will have a phone number, he will have his age, correct? All those kind of details, correct? Similarly, if I talk about uh, a car, okay, so it will have a model when which it was built, it will have engine specification, it will have different variants of that car and different kind of functional features. So ER diagram is nothing, as the name suggests, ER is like tables, entities which are related to each other via relationship. Is it? Like if I would show you here, this would make a very clear sense what I'm talking. Suppose here, if I see student and course. So yeah, Roberto, entities are similar to classes. We can say that, but here, because we are more into structured query language, we say entities as uh, an object which has certain set of data attributes related to it. When we will be going ahead in this file, you will understand better understanding what these entities are. Okay. So here, when we see student and courses, so we can say that, okay, student and courses are entities, but do they have a relationship? Yes. A student will study some courses. So via this study relationship, this student and courses are connected. So this is the logical model. Now, what happens with this logical model that, okay, if I have to create a database for an organization where I have a student and course details, correct? So what all information do I need in my database? So it is very clear from here that, okay, a student will have information like a student ID, a student name, a student age, correct? So I can create a table student with these columns, 3 columns. Similarly, I can create a table course with these 2 columns, course ID and course name. All right. So in this way, if you see, we are able to connect two entities via relationship, and these entities have multiple attributes. Attributes are like columns. Okay. So every entity will have multiple attributes. Now you can ask me that, okay, what is the use of this ER diagram in your data modeling? Correct. So if we are creating a data model for real-time objects, okay, so in order to create the database, if I show these kind of information to any non-technical person, the first thing is it is understood. It is feasible enough to say that, okay, this is what the ER diagram is all about. And we understand, okay, this is some tables and these are some columns. Okay, Andres, could we say entities are tables and attributes are columns in these tables? Correct. Exactly the same. Okay. So entities are like tables, so and your attributes are like columns. So what happens with this ER model? Why we need this ER model first before creating a data model? Because it gives us an idea that, okay, this is how my database would look like. These should be tables and these should be columns in those tables. So I can visualize the data in a logical manner with the help of ER diagram. Let's see, there are some components. If you see here, rectangle, if you see a rectangle in ER model, you would see those are entities. Okay. If you see oval structure, those are attributes. If you see a diamond, okay, those are relationships. All right. And if you see a line, those are attributes to entities and entities sets to other relation types. So if you see here, all those things are there, correct? These lines, these are like your entities. Your diamond is a relationship, is it? Your ellipses are your attributes. So that is what they have mentioned. if you have something like this in the ER model, like double ellipse, it would be multi-valued attributes. Now, don't get confused. These are like a lot of things which would be overwhelming. I will be going through this one by one. Okay, so don't worry. So double ellipse would be multi-valued attributes, and then double rectangle would be a weak entity. Okay, we understood it. Okay, entity is stable. Now, what is weak entity? Correct. So we will try to understand one by one. Okay, we'll just go step by step. So if you see, a ER model majorly consists of entity, is it, which is your tables. Then we have attributes, which are like columns, correct? Now columns can be of different types. And then we have relationships. So that, again, relationships can also be of different type. Okay. Now these are some types of entities, some types of attributes, and some type of relationships. So let's understand that in general, you understood that, okay, entity is a table. But the question is, what is a weak entity, correct? So let's see with an example. If you see, the student is studying courses. So student and courses are what? Entity in general, okay? And if you see, a student is alone, is it? Like a student don't needs any courses and courses just don't need any student, is it? They are individual entities. But if we connect them, so we are able to create a entity relationship diagram where a student is studying certain courses, correct? But when we talk about weak entity are those entities which don't have their, you can say, which don't exist on their own. Okay, they need some support. Okay, of the other entities. So suppose I can give you an example of a weak entity. Okay, if you see here, so in this, if you see classroom as it is double rectangle, it's a weak entity. And school is a strong entity. And again, we have some attributes. So classroom have room number and a school have school number, and they are related. Now, if you see in this example, a school is a strong entity. Why? Because it has primary key attribute, your school number. But just like a school, classroom is a weak entity because it doesn't have anything primary. And what we see here, the room number, it only acts like, okay, in a classroom, room number is what? It just differentiates that, okay, room number 101 is a different classroom, room number 102 is a different classroom. But it is not like classroom 101. If I say, okay, 101 classroom, will that make any sense without a school? But if I say like 1A1 school, that makes sense, correct? That is a specific school. But without a school, if I say classroom 101, it is it requires some dependency, correct? Without school or without relation to a school, classroom does not exist, correct? Yeah, we can say like weak entities are like sub entities or subset of an entity, but to be more precise, the understanding should be that because it is also an entity, okay? Classroom is also an entity, school is also an entity, but weak entity will always be dependent on some other entity for their existence. Like classroom cannot exist on their own. They always need a school. But if I talk about school, they exist independently, correct? So that is what your weak entity is, okay? So we covered different types of entities. Now let's cover attributes. Now see here, I told you that every entity will have some characteristics, right? Some features. So students have different characteristics, or you can say different details, you can say. So for any entity, we have different details, which are like attributes. So a student would have name, would have address, would have roll number, would have age. I'm just giving some idea. They might have more details, correct? So these are general attributes. Now, there could be different types of attribute. Okay. There could be a key attribute. Now, what is a key attribute? Key attribute is an attribute, or you can say is a column, which will make sure that every student is uniquely identified, because it's possible that, okay, uh, Dylan could be student name for like more than one people, but they are not same, is it? just because of the name is similar. So there should be a distinguished column. So here the key attribute out of this would be what? Roll number. Because address can be same or different. Student name can be same or different. Age can be same or different, but roll number will always be unique, correct? We will not have same roll number with for more than one student. So key attribute always make sure that the entity is uniquely identified. Okay, that is key attribute. Similarly, if we talk about composite attribute, so composite attribute is an attribute which can consist of multiple attributes together. Like if you see here, name is a composite attribute. We have first name, we have middle name, we have last name, correct? Combining these all attributes together, we have a composite attribute, a name. So like this, we can have multiple types of attributes in the ER model. And when we build the ER model, we get an idea, okay, this is how the database would be created, or this is what attributes would be needed in a in the database, correct? So if I'm using name in my database, or I need to use first name, middle name, and last name, these columns. So depending on the ER model, how you create, you will be able to create columns in that manner. Not only that, we have multi-valued attributes, like a student might have phone number. Now, phone number is not necessary that the student will have just one phone number. They might have multiple phone numbers, correct? So those kind of attributes, which can be more than one for a particular student, in this example, can be a multi-valued attribute. And what is a composite attribute? That attribute which can be broken down into multiple components. Okay, like suppose address. Address is also a multi-valued attribute. We can have multiple address. At the same time, address is also a composite attribute. We can have city, state, pin code, correct? Or zip code, those kind of things we can differentiate. So it depends what kind of attributes and what attributes you need. You need that attribute as a multi-valued attribute or as a composite attribute. Okay. So for simplification, we will just keep one at a time as an example. So we'll keep multi-valued attribute as a phone number because we can have more than one phone number, which is quite common. More than one address is not very common, correct? So that's why we did not take address as a multi-valued attribute. And if you see here in this example, we don't have any other attribute as address. We have roll number, it cannot be multi-valued. We have age, it cannot be multi-valued, correct? One person, one student will have one age, correct? Name, again, one student will have one name. But phone number, he can have multiple. Similarly, derived attribute. Now, this is interesting. Like suppose a student has an address, a student has a name and a date of birth. Derived attribute is age. Age will always be derived from date of birth attribute, correct? That's why it's called derived attributes, because this attribute is derived from the date of birth column. Does that make sense?
Yes.
No, name cannot be a multi-valued attribute. Okay, Roberto? Why? Because multi-valued attributes means where we can have possibility of more than one actual name. That is an abbreviation, okay? An alias. We cannot say that as a multi-valued attribute, okay? A nickname will not be a different name. It's the same name. So I took this example as phone number because phone numbers will be completely different and it's possible to have more than one phone number. I think most of you would have more than one phone numbers, correct? So that is a multi-valued attribute. Perfect. Moving to the next part of ER model, we discussed what? The entities, the very first component of ER model. Then we discussed the attributes. And now we are discussing the relationship. Okay. Now, relationship could be, I told you initially that, okay, student is related to a course. So it says relationship. And the relationship will always be shown in a ER model, entity relationship data model as a what? Diamond shape, is it? So this diamond shape represents a relationship always. But this relationship can be of different types. Okay. So if you see one to one, one to M, M means many. Okay. Many to one and many to many. Let's understand this. It's very easy. We can understand with this example. One to one is like, okay, if every student has a unique ID card, correct? So one student will have one ID card. One student cannot have two ID cards, or one ID card cannot be assigned to two students, correct? So if you see any which ways, it's one to one. So that is one to one relationship between student and ID card. Similarly, if I talk about customer and order, so one customer can have multiple orders, and multiple orders can be done by one customer, correct? So one to many, customer to order, and order to customer is many to one. Similarly, a student to course, many students can enroll to one course. Okay. Or we can also say that one student can enroll to many courses. Correct. So many to one or one to many. And if you talk about employee and project, suppose you work in any organization in future, as an employee, you will be assigned to multiple projects, but it's not sure that, okay, you will be the only person working. So multiple employees can be assigned to multiple projects, and multiple projects can be assigned to multiple employees. So it will work both ways. So these are like different types of relationship which exist in an ER model, or you can say ER data model, and you will be creating this first. Once you understand this aspects, you have this non-technical image created for a non-technical user. You can explain to your clients or stakeholders, okay, which are business persons, not the technical persons. So they will understand, okay, yes, I have all the details now. Then you will start creating the actual database. Okay. Now, what the actual database looks like, let me show you. Or I would say, where would you create these databases, correct? Suppose you understood, okay, I need these tables, I need these type of attributes or columns, and I have to build this kind of relationship. Okay, so we have a tool called SQL Server Management Studio. Let me open this. So if you see here, this is the tool which you will be using to create databases. Okay. Here, I can just open a new window, new query window. Here, I can use different ways I can use to connect, first of all, to the server, localhost server, and then we can create multiple databases. If you see here, I have certain database already created. Okay. And there are multiple ways to create a database. Okay. So suppose if I have to create a new database, I can just right click on new database, and then I can say CCS, okay, database name, and other things will be as it is. I will just leave it for this for demo purpose. So I'm just leaving it as it is, and I will just hit OK. And if you see, it has created a database for me, correct? Within this database, if I have to create tables, I can do that again, same, new table. Can you see this? It will ask me to provide column names, okay? Or what I can do, I can also do that using query. So I can say use database, okay? Your what we have CCS, correct? So we can say use CCS, and then we can execute this. If you see here, this has changed to CCS, correct? Here, the database. So these are the available database, or you can also use from here. Okay, I don't want to use CCS. I want to use CCS Learning Academy database. Okay, or I want to use some other database. Suppose I want to use CCS because this is the new database I created. Now, suppose if I want to create a table. Okay, so suppose I want to create table student. Okay, and it has columns like, okay, ID is an integer column. Then we have name as a varchar column, okay? And then we can just suppose say, okay, 10 size should be. And if I just execute this query, you will see before that, I would just show you here in the CCS tables. I don't have any tables over here, correct? As soon as I execute this, you would see a table over there created with the name student. See, executed successfully. I would just refresh this and you would see here we have a student table. Okay. Okay. You want to see what columns we have here? So we have columns here. See, ID and name. Correct. So like this, we can create tables either from the user interface or from the query side. And everything, okay, what is this create statement? Okay, what is this data type? What is this use statement? How to create a database, how to create a table, how to use this interface. Okay, everything from scratch will be taken care during course. So don't worry that, okay, what's going on? Okay, this is just an introductory session to give you an idea that, okay, these things you're going to learn about. And this is like an introductory thing. You will be learning much more advanced concepts apart from what we are discussing right now. Okay, so it is like the start of the session. And even before this, you will be given ideas about the basic fundamentals so that you can also do these things parallelly with the instructors. Let's move back to the um, this. Okay, so we have normalization. Now this is the technical concepts which we can understand only when we get into the course. For now, you can understand that, okay, it's a concept where we try to reduce the duplications or the duplicate records within the tables. Okay, then we have reverse and forward engineering, which will help you to optimize your data models. Okay, because data models will be growing from time to time, the data will be coming. So we need to optimize that so we can use this. We have different database integrity. Okay, so that we make sure that the data is valid in these columns. It should not be that, okay, the phone number is storing email address and email address column is getting phone number. So how would you make sure that this happens in your database? For that, you enable integrity in your databases, which makes sure that the data, what you are having in your tables, in your specific columns are valid and they are for that specific column itself, which is implemented with the help of different constraints, different customized rules, what we implement on specific columns, so that we only get that information input in those columns. And how you do that, each and everything will be covered in a lot more detail what I'm talking right now. Okay, and much more thing, because this is an overview. Okay, a very brief overview, a background about what things we're gonna cover. And this is just the data modeling part. Once you develop the data model, create the database, you have tables, columns, information. So the point comes what we were talking right now that, okay, what is SQL Server? We just saw that tool. That is your SQL Server application. Within that tool, how would you create tables? Okay. Now, suppose you created a table with 5 columns. Tomorrow you need 10 columns. So how would you change that 5 columns to 10 columns using different statements like alter? Okay. If you don't want that table, how would you drop that table? All those commands and how to use them. What is the real-time application for them? Then once the tables and structures are created, how would you manipulate those structures? Like suppose I created right now the student table. Now, if I have to put information like, okay, ID1 and name, suppose Rishabh, or ID2 name, suppose Dylan. So how those records will be provided in the tables? For that, you need to write queries. Okay. Or suppose if Rishabh address changes from A to B, how would you change that address in that column? So for each and every activity or each and every thing what you will be doing, you will be needing queries. You will be needing these statements, DDL statements, DML statements, okay? DQL statements you will be needing to get information, okay? Suppose a table has 50 columns, and you just need 5 columns from that table because that is what you need to know. So in that scenario, you will be using select statements to select specific columns from those tables and retrieve those information. You don't need all the 50 columns, correct? So these statements will help you to extract information, to manipulate information, and to define information in the database. Not only that, you will also be covering different constraints, okay? How these things will be related to each other, okay? What information will fall in which column. Everything needs to be pre-decided and enforced on the tables or columns, which can be done only with the help of constraints. Without constraints, the data will fall at different places, at not at appropriate places, which will make your database not efficient, okay, or inappropriate. So you cannot use such kind of database. So we need databases to be very efficient to use them in a proper fashion. Then we have wildcards. Again, this is kind of an advanced concept. You can understand as if I have to query data based on some patterns, okay? Like, okay, I need to get information of all the students whose name starts with letter A. So I'm not specifying that, okay, I need Rishabh information, I need Dylan information, I need uh, maybe Alex information, okay? But I'm saying, okay, I need information of those students whose letter or whose names starts with letter A. In those kind of scenarios, you have to use wildcards, correct? Now, the other possibility could be in databases, we can have many tables, correct? We just now discussed in ER model that we can have many tables and different types of relationship. So if I have to query data from more than one tables, okay, like the data is located in 3 tables and I need to get information from all those 3 tables, I can get those information with the help of join statements. So that is also we'll be covering in the session, very detailed, and we will have lots of assignments and industry level utilization on these areas, how we utilize in day-to-day life, and what's the practical use cases. It's not just the theoretical part, okay, this is join and this is how we use it. Everything you will be getting a real-time exposure. And we also have some other industry experts which connect time to time to give you insights what is going on in present scenario. Apart from that, there are set operators, we have subqueries, we have CTs. These are like different objects. You can say the advanced part of SQL, which will help you to become a database expert. Okay, SQL developer or a database developer. Okay, these kind of domains you will be very good at cracking interviews and getting a job in these kind of roles, learning these concepts. These are different components of the advanced SQL where we will be covering like different objects like dynamic SQL. Not only that, if you have to implement logics, okay, like you want to insert few records in a table based on certain conditions, you can use conditional statements, your control flow statements. Okay, if you have to define a custom logic that, okay, if this is my table, I would get information from this particular file only on even dates. And in odd dates, I would be getting this information loaded in this different table. So this kind of logics needs to be implemented using queries in star procedures. We have different functions as well, what we uh, talk about in the training session where you'll be going through system functions, user defined logical functions. Not only that, if you have to implement triggers, indexes, okay, and why indexes to optimize your queries, triggers to make sure that if something happens wrong, those triggers get fired, or if something executed successfully, the triggers get fired. So those triggers have their own advantages and disadvantages we'll be covering and how we use that in real time. Error handling is something very important. where we try to indulge ourselves to debug the queries. Like suppose if I have 200 lines of queries and I need to find what's the error. So it's not that easy that, okay, you get an error at this point. You have to do the error handling and you have to do debugging process. How to do that is something we will be covering during the courses. Partitions, okay, when we are dealing with like a table with like 30 million records or maybe 50 million records. So we create partitions to make sure that the table is an optimized sense and we get the data as quick as possible. And like that, we have transactions, which is very prevalent in banking scenario, finance scenario, stocks market, and these kind of domains where transactional statements are a lot and we need to monitor each and every transaction. So this is what your different sessions are. I know I have given you a very brief overview because these things are very dynamic, okay? Uh, Point of 160 hours cannot be covered in 1 hour, correct? So we have to be on a very brief side here, but I just wanted to give you an overview of the tool, of the diagram, and on top of everything, how much detailed information you will be getting, because I assume that if you are not technical, you will not be able to understand that, okay, what are these database modeling or SQL Server or these topics. But when I explain you in layman terms, you understand, okay, these are the things what we're going to learn. And when you will be learning, you will get more insights because then you will be getting real time experience, exposure, all those things from time to time in these sessions. On top of this, if we talk about as the Learning Academy, I want to just add up something that we are not just the Learning Academy, we are not just training, providing training sessions, but we are also experts in different legal domains. Okay. We also have like development domain, we have industry level expertise and services provided across different projects and different clients. So you don't only get the exposure towards the course, but you also get exposure on different areas of different projects, what we are already dealing with. And because we have a team of professionals, they encounter real time challenges in those projects. So we bring those challenges to you as well so that you also get an idea that, okay, this is some real time challenges and this is how we can fix those challenges. Correct? Not only that, apart from this training and projects what we provide you and quizzes and assignments, we also have time to time mock interviews, because if you have to crack interviews and become a data professional, it's not just the learning process, you have to handle interviews. And because if you are a fresher or you have never handled interview before, you need to have a very good idea as a professional how you need to tackle interviews, is it? So those mock interviews will give you a heads up, or you can say a major help in presenting yourself in front of technical people during interviews. What you need to say, what you need not to say, what examples you need to provide, all those kind of details will be provided by the instructors from time to time. And this would be on every module basis, okay? Or maybe after certain topics covered, we will be going with the marks. And not only that, how the projects work. Suppose if you're working on SQL, so how the project works in SQL. What are the, you can say, the day-to-day life looks like. All those things will be provided. And the best part is this is on the technical part. On the non-technical part, we also conduct soft skill training. That means if suppose you speak English, but you don't speak confidently, okay? So we have sessions to improvise that. All right. Or if you speak good, but you use, you can say you interrupt a lot, or you're not very continuous, or you're very slow on the communication, or you're very fast on the communication. So we try to balance that soft skill of yours as well, apart from the training part, what we provide. Okay. And the best part is on top of all this, you will be having time to time meetings conducted with the alumni of CCS who have already taken training from the academy. They will put their insights and their experience from the real-time projects, what they are working on, and they will give you insights from time to time about different projects, what they are into, what challenges they are facing. And you will also meet with some in-house professionals which are working right now with CCS itself in different clients and providing different services. Okay, so we have all this combination, not just training, which is intense and with different real-time projects and exposure, interviews and soft skill. But also we have this interaction sessions with real-time developers, programmers, and alumni and industry experts from time to time. So this is how we build you a complete data expert, okay, so that you can be efficient enough to design your databases, develop it from scratch, and implement it for any end client or any XYZ organization. Thank you for the session. For this, if we talk about uh, the pricing and all those things, I think Dylan will take over and just brief you about the course pricing and the other details about financing options. Thank you again, all of you.
Thank you very much, Rishabh. Pretty good session you have done today. As you have mentioned, we are a full cycle company. So guys, I want to really say to you that this is a huge opportunity, very good opportunity of training here in Latin America, unique opportunity. So I have shared with you in the chat all of main point of contact in all of those channels. You will be directly speaking to one of our academic advisors. So any one of your preference, we have the WhatsApp, the Instagram, and the website. Just remember that if you are contacting us from a different part of Latin America, you need to put the 506 before the phone number. So just take that into consideration. Also, guys, here you can, if you have any other question, please let us know. I might be able to clarify or Rishabh, depending on the type of question. Also, guys, I want to remember that all the recordings we are going to share to you. So we have shared most of the recordings. Today's session we will be sharing this week to all of you, to your emails. And just remembering to you that for Costa Rica, we have CONAPE financing. So all the people that are watching us from Costa Rica, this is a good opportunity that you have to finance these courses, our 3 buckets and our main program, which is the bootcamp in data analytics. So next Monday, we will also have a session on a new bucket. We will be sharing also the invite so you can also attend the free class that we are going to provide, introductory class, as this one, to a new bucket. So yes, guys, any question that you have, please feel free to ask. If not, you also have the point of contacts. So if having any additional question any day of the week, you can utilize those. For sure, Eduardo, is a pleasure. And to you, Andres. Thank you also, guys, for attending. So yeah, guys, if there is not a question right now, we will be finalizing the session. Once again, I am reminding you that we have our contacts there. So any question that you have, feel free to ask. And see you the next Monday with one new session. Once again, Rishabh, thank you very much for providing the session.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye, guys. Have a good day.